Key element.
Talking, testing, toast.
Talk.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the MaxBet Podcast. Here at Blackfire, we are, today's a good one,
Yes.
Mr. Andrew Burke, my brother from another mother, better known as CEO of Bluberi Gaming.
I like your version better.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad I didn't stumble over that. No, he's an awesome guy. We talked to him enough about his past life in other episodes, but let's get through what he's doing now and how he's become so successful with his latest company. But like a lot of people, when he took the job, were like, "What are you doing? Are you joking? Like Bluberi? Like that's just the reality, right?" He was like, "I got this. We're gonna be fine." And then sure enough, here he is. 4 years later, putting up big wins and succeeding. So I'm kind of hoping he shares a little secret sauce on how he did that. Bring it to the people.
Love it. Let's do
get
it.
So it's easy to just say, if you want to know about Andrew, go listen to 2 other episodes on MaxBet. Just go in the archives. We gave your whole story.
That's right. How many times do I have to come back before I get a robe, like on SNL? Yeah,
you should
like
SNL
the 5
Live.
times.
I don't know how many you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. What's the equivalent, the MaxBet equivalent of a robe?
You'll be
Five's
the first
good.
one.
Yeah.
You do have to get those made.
You
didn't watch every episode?
It wasn't part of the interview process. That wasn't part of the interview
Was it a
process.
quiz? Oh.
I don't want it to change. My
Yeah, you don't want it
perception
to
of,
bias you. I know, I get it. I totally get it.
Hold me back.
This is the new MaxBet.
Yeah.
New Max 2.0. Area rugs, signs, plants.
2.0.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Get your high school yearbook all signed off. And she said this morning, she goes, I feel like I'm going to high school. So I don't get that sense
It's
from
the
your wardrobe,
flares.
but
The flares?
she's in her head about high school fashion. So
This is what I would have worn in high school, actually. It's very
That's
like
very
Abercrombie,
sophisticated. Yeah.
some skater shoes.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
Sophisticated.
Yeah. Late 90s,
In news that surprises
baggy.
no one, I wore a lot of Big Daddy T-shirts.
Of course.
Because why wouldn't I?
Of course you
I was not cool. Okay, I was good at sports, but I was not cool.
I was between a goth and a prep, which is a weird sort of
Really?
like
It is a
hybrid
weird
mix, yeah.
Nerdy
Yeah,
guy.
what is
Not
that one
goth,
about?
really like more metally. I was a skater, like
Okay.
I would have baggy pants on, like skater shoes, and like an Abercrombie sweater. Probably.
And a popped polo.
A sweater
Pop polo.
around his
Yeah, that was like
shoulders.
That was later.
Yeah. That was in college. Yeah, that was
That came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really old. Yeah, so that was
Comparison.
that was not till the 2000s, the early.
That was
aughts.
my era.
Yeah, the early
of high
aughts.
school. But we did just talk yesterday about AOL screen names.
Oh yeah.
Do you, first of all,
Kick
do you remember yours?
NC-17.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the NC-17 was. It was like a very 16-year-old kid thing to do.
You're like, Showgirls is out.
KIK NC-17, and I don't really know why. I guess at least it wasn't like 6969 or something.
Yeah,
but,
something
it was like
Well, I don't know. Do you know his?
Yeah, I don't know. What was yours?
Big Sexy 74. But
What,
I thought
74?
because that was my jersey number. But I thought I was like cool because I spelled sexy SEKSI. So it was like a little
Oh,
different.
God.
Did not make me any cooler.
I said, and
This is
nobody
the
checked you on
experience.
that.
I worked at a video
Nobody
store,
said.
too, so it was like, you know,
Yeah.
Oh, NC7. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
That's
Then.
probably why.
Okay.
I didn't want to put Kick Blockbuster, so I just put the rating that is most appealing. Should we start?
let's do it.
Yeah. Hold on. Can I take a sip? Really?
Yeah. you can do it around. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, so we were talking. I said we're not going to go into your history because there's been 2 other episodes. If people want to know the Andrew Burke, the man, the myth, the legend, they can do that. But what I think we're interested today is in kind of how you built this culture that you guys have at Bluberi. I think talked a little bit about it with Brennan. It seems like yes, there's great product. Hey, you're on the Odds Report. It seems like every time a new game comes out, you're having success. But the buzz in the business is really about how much people like working there, like the culture, the experience of Bluberi. Seems like what's really turning heads. I think the performance is also nice, but maybe one stems from the other. What was your approach to that? You took the company over about 5 years ago as CEO, noticed the culture needed to be either rebuilt or implemented, however you describe it. Like, how do you start that and kind of how'd you get to where you're going?
Sure. Culture is one of those things that's often talked about and completely misunderstood.
Yep.
The worst thing you can do for culture, I think, is try to force some sort of inorganic thing on people, right? Like culture has to be this organic. I think of culture as a set of operating principles and norms that the company sort of abides by, and I think a lot of people think of culture as like, oh, we have half day Fridays and we've got pizza parties, but like really like the culture is the societal norms of your business. Like, and you think about, your culture, where you live, the neighborhood you're in, like, the rules you sort of operate with are how you know that you're part of whatever that group is. And when I first came to Bluberi, like, it really wasn't about culture. It was about survival.
Yeah.
The business was in trouble. We had 2 years of really hard work from the entire team of just really deep soul searching of what do we want to be, like, how do we get there? Can we make it? But once we came through that, it was more of time to sit around and reflect and go, well, what do we want to be? Also, like, what are we already? Like, because there's things you are as a company sort of organically.
Yeah,
without
there's a history.
Yeah, there's a history, there's a legacy. There's, in our case, there's multiple real cultures. Like, we have Quebec in Canada, and we've got, sort of Las Vegas, and now we have actually Reno and New Brunswick and Texas coming soon. So, you have to kind of take stock and say, what are we already? Sort of collectively decided, and we started with it with our core values. My team, we probably spent 100 hours collectively thinking about our core values. And we did that in conjunction with the rest of the organization, soliciting feedback.
Yep.
And if you come to Bluberi today, one of the things I'd be the most proud of is, like, if you come to an interview or you came to interact, like, people are going to use our core values in their everyday language because they kind of define how we show up. Like, one of ours is find it, fix it, own it. So if you find a problem in the business, congratulations, it's now yours. Fix it, own it all the way through, see it all the way through, be an owner, of the business. Celebrate wins, but never be satisfied. So we do want to celebrate when things go well, but we always want to, like, break the next record. Like Olympic athletes think about when they get a gold medal, they're not like, I did it. They're like, I want more gold medals. I want to beat my world record, whatever that is, right? But those sort of have informed the way we operate and show up at the business.
So you used two phrases. I think maybe they're the same. I just want to clarify. So at the beginning, you said it's really about operating principles. Then you said core values. Are those two? Should I think of those two as the same?
I think of them as the same. Like, I think a lot of companies use core values. They're like integrity.
Yeah, right.
Justice.
It's not an action word.
It's just like a word. I don't know. Like, so we try to think about it more like, hey, here's a way to operate when you show up at the business and a way to think about it. We try to provide examples.
Yep.
It's a team sport. It's another one. We're all on the same team. And then I think you have to do things. I'll go on my, like, professorial soapbox for a second, but I do think a lot of frustration in corporate America today is that people are being held accountable to standards that they fundamentally don't know exist. And I think it's a little bit about an overreaction to micromanagement in the, like, 90s and 80s. Like, we're going history lesson now, right? There was this time where, like, micromanagement was the thing. Like, you got to manage every detail.
Yeah, for sure.
But then, like, in the late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s, it was like, micromanagement's bad. So we switched to no management, which is like, well, people are adults. They should just know what to do every day and show up and do that. But then, like, the pendulum swung too far where people would come to work and be like, what should I do? And people would be like, ooh, we didn't like that you did that thing. And it's like, well, I didn't know. How did I know that you didn't like that? There's no principles or guidance. And so I think the pendulum had swung a little bit too far. And I think generally people just want to know, like, what are the rules and how am I successful here? Yeah. And so we spend a lot of time trying to define those things. I don't know that we've been perfect on that, but I know it's a journey that we're on every day.
So is it just that the leadership team has to come together and do this, or, like, how does it become organic and not just you said it's
I think you need to look around and say, what is everybody doing today, and observe. I try to get that feedback a couple ways. So I still talk to every single employee I try to be 90 days, but it's harder. We're hiring a lot of people
on the other side of the country.
So I have, like, a 10-minute conversation with almost every single employee, not almost, like, every single employee that starts. We also do these things called roundtables where me and my team will break up and we get groups of, like, 10 people and talk to employees and try to ask them. And so I think you got to start there. Yeah. Like, you got to listen and hear what do employees want. And then you have to be honest with them. I think that's the other thing that it can be hard to do. But, if you talk to a bunch of people and everybody's like, it would be great if we just worked 2 days a week and that was it. Yeah. And, I have to say, hey, I appreciate that, but that's not what we're trying to do here at Bluberi, right? We're a small company that's trying to be a big company. We have very ambitious plans. So this is a place where if you have ambitious plans and you want to do something big, this is the right place for you. If you want to work 2 days a week, this is probably not the right place. They got to know what they're signing up for. We fundamentally do allow subcultures to exist. The Vegas office has a different sort of vibe, if you will, than the Reno office or the Quebec office. They all kind of adhere to, like, the bigger principle, but, like, I'm cool. I think it's great. Yeah. I think it's amazing that there's different things because there's different people in these places who, fundamentally want different things.
And how are they different? What have you seen, like, the Vegas office versus Reno?
So, like, here's a cool example. Like, Reno, for all of their job interviews, they play a board game together during the job interview. That's not something we do in Vegas and not something we do in some of the other things. Maybe we should be doing it. It's such a cool thing, but it's like, it's so authentically a thing that team likes and wants to do And it's driven by a great leader up there, Keith Hughes. He just does an amazing job. And like, I think like that's organic for them and it's not forced, right? I think maybe if we try to do that in the Vegas office, which is more corporate functions, not game development, it would kind of be like, what do you want to play, Monopoly? Or, you know, like it would be, it would be like kind of, it'd be the wrong fit, you know? So people do their best work when they can be themselves. What I hope our promise is at Bluberi is that the work is very hard and challenging, but the environment is not. And I think as executives, like that's my job. My job is to make sure the environment is not painful to work in, but that the work is very challenging and hard, because that's, I think, mostly what great employees want is they want hard, challenging work. They just don't want all the other corporate
Right.
Yes, I won't swear on your.
You can swear.
Yeah,
Like Brennan said, we're the HBO podcast.
Okay, good. Whew.
That's okay. Yeah. Say what you want.
I like what Brennan said too of the no talented assholes.
Yeah,
Is that
absolutely.
a corporate principle or is that his
That's so
subculture?
good.
It is a corporate principle.
Yeah.
You know, it's not on our core value list, but maybe it should be the next sub bullet down. Somebody once said to me, "It can't be all sunshine and rainbows over there. It's too good to be true." And I'm like, I think you don't understand maybe what we're doing. Like, we definitely argue all the time. Like my team and I, we argue a lot. You know, in a good way, in a constructive way, in a direct way. Yeah. And then we get aligned on what we want to do, and we go do it. You know, it avoids having the talented assholes things, because generally the talented asshole is on an island doing their own thing and not sort of aligned with the core team. And kind of everybody knows it and is like, you know, I don't want to do that. But
just make it weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think healthy conflict makes sense. I mean, you know, that's one of the core tenets of most team building. They say, look, if you don't have an environment where you can have that debate, you're just going to lose, because that's, I think, part of the success is having that environment where you go, yeah, we can debate, and then guess what? We're still going to lunch. Like, I don't hate you. We're not like off the Christmas card list. You're just.
There's this guy, Ray Dalio, who's the founder of Bridgewater. He has a saying where he's like, find the smartest people that disagree with you, and then try to understand why they disagree with you. And so, like, you know, you brought up Brennan, so I use him as an example.
Sure.
When Mike and I don't agree on something, I really like think deep. I'm like, he's really smart, you know, he knows his stuff, and he doesn't agree with me. Why? You know, and I really try to like understand that. And so it becomes less of like a, hey, we're butting heads or locking horns, and it becomes more of like a, I'm trying to understand how he got there, he's trying to understand how I got there. And that, I think, always ends up like coming to a better resolution for everyone on things, you know? If you are open to that, like, hey, I could be wrong. I got to think about why this person that I respect thinks I'm wrong.
Then I guess as you guys grow and scale, how do you like? What is your process for evaluating culture fit in these new hires? I mean, it sounds like board games up north, but like, what's the maybe? Is there a more standardized or different approach you're using?
I'd say we're working on it. You know, we've really focused hard in the last couple of years on trying to document our culture. We now document best practices sort of every quarter and roll them out. We are very, very concerned and focused on getting better at Bluberi. The one piece of process that we have in place for sort of director and above candidates is you do have to fill out a scorecard. Here's the 5 things that would make this person successful in their first kind of, call it 180 days. You build that scorecard, you share it with kind of other people that are going to interact with that role. We then put that as part of the job, you know, between the job description and the scorecard, you've got a pretty complete, thoughtful picture of like what this person's supposed to do.
So in this scorecard is thought of, or is the burden to create that is on the hiring manager.
Yeah.
So if I'm the VP of a discipline and I need a new director, you said, I come up with their scorecard. Here's the 5 things I need the potential future applicant to have to make them an A+ player here.
Yeah.
And then you're evaluating your interviews against the scorecard.
That's right.
Got it. And then the accountability comes from, they also then say, okay, here's the scorecard. Hillary's an A. She checked all 5 boxes. We love her. I'm circulating that with the core team, my peers, to say, hold me accountable to her behaviors and standards.
Yeah, and when you're interviewing, I'm interviewing a director of whatever department. I get a copy of the scorecard. I get sort of notes from the interview. And I can kind of see that and go, oh, okay, this is what I'm evaluating this person for, too, which I think is helpful. And then I think it also helps a lot with alignment. One of the biggest causes of friction at companies is misalignment. You know, I actually heard Mark Dito the other day talking about alignment too, and he's not wrong. I think of it even at like a more micro level, which is like, why do we hire that person and what are they doing can be a thing at fast growing companies.
Sure.
And it's like, well, this is what we hired him for. We hired him for not just the job description, scorecard. And by the way, you were involved in that hiring process and, you know, you got to participate. So I think it really helps with the alignment when you have to spend some time, write down on paper, why do you want this person to be here? Why do you have to do it? Because fundamentally firing people is bad for culture.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't mean you should never fire anybody. Don't get me wrong on that. I think not having accountability is bad for culture also.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But you should spend a lot more time in the hiring process than you think you should, because finding the right person that's the right fit for the company.
In your, let's say 5 things, and I don't know if they're all 5, but in your scorecard, it sounds like it's a blend between core competency, like let's say you're hiring for like VP of finance or accounting. They have to know finance or accounting. Like that's kind of step 1. But then there's also elements to this as well. Is that person going to actually blend with the team?
If I had like a VP of sales role, let's pick on sales. Sales is always a fun, easy example. It would be like ability to forecast and develop a plan that the company can rely on, right? To probably ability to build and attract sort of world-class talent to the organization. Then 3 would be like ability to work across the organization and play nice with other groups, right? So you can see like some of the stuff is table stakes, right? Like if you're hiring somebody that's in sales, they better know how to sell, right? But like, can they attract talent? Develop talent. That's a different thing than attracting talent,
for sure.
right? So really spending the time to think through intellectually what you want in that role is really important. And a lot of people don't do that. They just, where's the job description? Oh, let's just update the last job description. Even though you just fired that person because maybe they weren't doing the thing you thought they should be doing. This is all back to culture. You know, like if people don't have a clear idea of what they're supposed to do when they get to your company, it causes friction. It causes misalignment.
The phrase that comes to mind when you talk about culture and principles is like this idea of like, we don't do that here. Right. So like where you have like, you know, growing up in the neighborhood is like, we don't do that in this neighborhood. Like we're not, that's the same thing. Like when somebody goes, hey, we're just going to leave that till Monday. No, we don't do it. We tackle it now. Like our cultures, we just do it today. Or we, you know, I found it. I don't hand it to you. I fix it. Right. That's the culture it sounds like you guys have. So I think that's important. And then having that lens and saying, all right, well, is this person going to do that? Do they have an urgency about whatever the
that's right.
is?
You know, and some of those some people may not fit with the culture we want. Right. And I think you have to be clear about what the culture is. You know, when I came out of school, and got my job, it was 2006 was the first year I worked. And 2006 were the good times. It was like everybody was getting a job offer. You know, I was working in private equity at the time, so it was like M&A was happening. There was all kinds of deals happening. And then 2008 happened, and like the whole world shut down. And like for 4 years, really, it was like the worst economy you could think of. And I think if you came into the work environment in that 2006 to 2008 window, or 2012 maybe even window like I did, you have a different idea about work than somebody that came in at 2013 or 14 when jobs were like readily available, the economy was going back, you know, interest rates were still 0, so when interest rates are 0, money's free. And I'm like, you know, going into my professorial thing here, but
teach us.
Like I approach work, and I think most people that came to work when I did in a scarcity mindset. If you started working in 2013 or 14 or 15, 16, 17, 18 even, you know, you're like, oh, jobs are plentiful. I can switch from this job to that job, to this job to that job. We couldn't do that. You know, there wasn't that option available. And I think what I've realized over time is that things are cycles, right? Ball is in the employer's court. Sometimes it's in the employee's court. And so I do fundamentally think about how do we set up a business that attracts the right talent and finds the right talent, sort of no matter what the cycle's doing. But for sure, I do think it's tightening. Like it has been since, and it's not a coincidence, but when interest rates go up, money goes from being free to having a cost. And if money has a cost, it's harder for businesses to earn a return. And so when it's harder for them to earn a return, what do? They clamp down on expenses. They try to manage their costs. They don't hire as many people. You know, they don't give as many raises. Like that's just how the sort of cookie crumbles economically. And so I think we've moved into more of like in the last kind of year and a half, maybe even 2 years of just this like tightening of the belt thing, which again kind of puts the scrutiny back into employers' hands. But I still think like you shouldn't change your behavior in a wholesale way because the cycle swings back the other way, you know? And so it's just, if you get a reputation as being an employer that just squeezes everybody when they can, then that's your reputation, you know? If you're just like, hey, we're just trying to treat everybody as evenly and honestly as we can, no matter what the environment is, like that's where I think you can win long-term.
The phrase I would say is you're investing in culture, right?
Absolutely.
And so from talking, you know, doing the homework, talking to some of your employees now, they're like, yeah, it's great. We love it here. They seem to invest in us, right? So there's sounds like different leadership opportunities or educational things, but also things like, you know, for example, you just had the holidays party a month or two ago. Every city still had the party available to them, and they got to bring their spouse or, you know, their plus one, which a lot of companies said, we're not doing plus ones anymore. Like, so you're kind of promoting this culture of saying, hey, we want the families to be involved. We want you to feel comfortable here. and it costs us. It's not like it was
Absolutely.
like, it's not like you send an email, hey, Mr. or Mrs. whoever, like, it's like, no, come here, eat, drink on our dime. It's important to us. Like, how do you view, I guess, that, like, how do you make the evaluation financially? Because some companies are probably like, man, I want to do it, but it's $50,000, or I don't know, I'm making up numbers, but it's an expense. And, how do you, what line do you protect it? Like, there's really probably not an ROI on that, but how do you think about it from a financial perspective in the time?
I do think of it as an investment, and I think that the holiday parties are an interesting one, right? Just, it's a big expense at the end of the year. So if you weren't having a great year and you need to save some costs, like, what do you do? Like, just, kill that. And you're like, okay, so you're going to save a little bit of money to make a lot of people mad.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
Yeah.
And so I just think generally, like, it's an investment we've committed to as a business. It's sort of a red line in the sand for us, where we're going to do these holiday parties. And what we do, for those that don't know, is every year, every office has a holiday party budget, and you get to bring a +1. And if you don't live in an area of one of our offices, we will fly you and a spouse in, put you up in a hotel for whatever the time is. It's awesome. It's cool. And now it's become a thing, and I don't see us ever walking it back. Your culture is like your brand too. I think your brand internally and externally, I think about that all the time. Like, are we making our brand more valuable by making this investment, or less valuable? Right. And I think for employees, when we do that, we're making working at Bluberi more valuable to them by doing that.
I love that you fly everybody in.
It's a big cost, but it's so cool to talk to these folks and their spouses who are like, oh, and some of them have never been to wherever you're going, Vegas or whatever, didn't have a chance to get away from the kids or whatever it is. And
no, for sure. We, being on the spouse side of that, it means so much.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to go and be a part of that and, like, meet the people that you've been hearing about for forever. And it helps that, like, when you do have to work long hours, or when you do have to go on trips, you have so much more of an understanding.
Absolutely.
Like, it really helps to get the spouses on board.
Absolutely.
At the same time.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I'd give them all a gift if we could afford that, as they walk in. But it is. It's like, you spend so much time away from your family when you're working that any time we can merge those things together, I think it's generally a good thing.
What I heard is we're giving Andrew terry cloth robe next appearance. He's giving the spouses in 25 a terry cloth robe.
Yeah, exactly.
Robes
Pass
for all.
it down.
Robes
Everyone's getting a robe.
That's right.
That's how we do it. You're just going to summarize for maybe a new CEO that's either just taking something over or starting something on first step to approach this, right? Like, as we talked about a lot of things you did, operating principles, but like, what's step one towards this whole process? I mean, there's a lot of good info here, but if you're just starting, trying to action something.
I think it's to talk to people.
Yeah.
That's step one. Like, I would encourage anybody that's in a new role, whether it's CEO or not, the first thing you should do, the first 90 days, everyone's like, what are you going to do in your first 90 days? Well, like, 90 days is going to come and go, like, in a blink of an eye, especially if you're at a high, fast-paced company. I would just say, talk to as many people in a one-on-one setting as you can. Hey, what do you think the best thing about our company is? What do you think the worst thing about our company is? What do you think we could do better? Like, what do we need to stop doing, maybe? And you just get, like, so much great answers and insights, and you can use that to sort of inform, your opinion. I think you do generally have to have a vision on where you're going and be prepared for people not to believe you.
Yeah.
Especially
you're crazy.
Which is generally me. I'm always like, we're going to go way over there. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? That's like way over there. It informs how you show up.
All right, so switching gears a little bit.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Andrew and I now for the last, 90 days or so have been doing, we casually call them the hot dad walks. So you get up 5 a.m., put weight vests on, do about 3 miles. It's not every day. For November, it was every day. Normally, it's about 3-4 times a week. So I'm just curious, like, what have you learned? Because I feel like those are good for the soul, but I'm always curious to see how you quantify, like, how do you?
I enjoy them. I mean, I really enjoy it. It's like, it's fun to have an accountability partner. Sure. One, if you don't know, Mike ends up coming to my house in the morning because my house is the easier house to start the walk from.
Saves me a quarter mile walk.
Yeah. So it's cool. We, be out there at 5 a.m. too, when generally we're the only people. We actually see like the same people out every day, which is pretty cool and inspiring because those folks are all different shapes and sizes and capabilities.
They're doing it, man.
And they're doing it every day. And so, like, I think the consistency is really, really great. I enjoy the conversation we always have about the first couple times you talk about the normal things you talk about. But, like, on the 90th time, you start going deeper and deeper into...
We've covered all the sports. We've covered all the
We've already
news.
checked all the easy stuff. Now we're, like, in the deep,
we know what the weather is.
Like, it's like, if you won the lottery, what would you do? So it's just... I think it's awesome. And then I think consistency and intentionality is such a great thing. Like... 5 a.m. is going to be there. It's like, the question is, are you going to be there or not? And are you going to do something about it? And I really enjoy that. You get up and it's dark and it's cold and it's windy and you just start going, and then you're like, oh, it's great. You feel fine, 10 minutes into the thing that you did, and you're happy that you did it at the end. But I only wear a 25-pound vest. Mike wears a 60-pound vest, which is insane.
Trying to be a beast, man.
Yeah, so it's there's quite a bit of a gap there too on that.
25 is nothing to sneeze
bigger.
at, though. That's still.
I did a 40-pound for a while, but then I felt like I was maybe gonna disintegrate. So
Your knees were like, no.
Yeah.
So I ran the math. 40 for you is the 60 for me. So
Okay.
like when we're just the size differences, like that would be right. Yeah. I got you by almost 100 pounds. Yeah, no, I think that's right. And so like for me, it's fun because it's like you having the partner makes you do it. But then once you do it, I've noticed in this area of your life, you do the hard thing, even though you don't want to do it. It's made me more effective everywhere else. Because like, if I can do that at 5 a.m. when it's 32 degrees out, I can take the call I don't want to take or write the email I don't want to do or whatever the easier corporate stuff is, right?
Doing hard things is so good for you.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that people don't necessarily want to do all the time, but when you do it, you're like, oh,
yeah,
that was so great. I feel so accomplished. I feel so good about it, So I think I take away that a lot from it. It's like, same kind of thing. It's like, I already did the hardest thing I'm going to do today, and it's 6 a.m., So it's like, okay.
Some eggs hit their day.
Yeah, that's right.
We're trying.
I think you guys need to post this more online, though. I've been telling Mike.
I'm like a phantom. I'm like in the background, like hiding.
I've seen some of the pics of you in the back, but I think you guys need to share some of your wisdom when you're on these walks.
Some more.
I would just love to be a fly on the wall for some of these conversations.
5 a.m. at our house. You can be there.
We'll take you up on that.
We should organize one, like a Wade Fest walk for all the guys in Vegas. Come on to Burke.
Our driveway, 5 a.m. You're welcome.
What's your prediction for 2025?
I think it's going to be a good but challenging year for the market. I think it's always a little bit of uncertainty, and there's more certainty in some ways in the political climate, but there's less certainty in other ways because new term hasn't started, and that will, who knows what it'll do to the economy and all those kind of things. So I think we've had some really good years, just like sort of macroeconomically in the business. I hope that continues, but I'm always sort of cautious about, hey, is this, our customers going to spend a little less money this year? And I always want us to be prepared for if the answer to that question is yes. Mm-hmm. But I think it still is going to be a good year. We're focused internally on this year of sort of optimization, we're calling it, where it's getting the most out of like all the systems and tools we've invested in the last couple of years and trying to be more efficient. We're still going to hire a ton of people because the business is growing. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting year.
And most importantly, I've seen one of these. But do we have access to the AGS photo shoot that happened at your house a couple years ago?
Oh, this is
the color picture thing.
It
wasn't at my house. It was at a photographer's house, and absolutely not. Those are locked.
Saloon.
Those are locked
style.
In the.
We'll say that did a lot for culture. So the leadership
like
team did some pictures. Yeah, we were all in suits.
I could release some, maybe
slowly.
other people's, versions of them.
Oh, I would like individual headshots.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a fun time. It was like one of those like unexpected fun things too, where it's like, what can we do that's different? Oh, let's do a photo shoot together.
Well, you were the king of that. So I will say, like, getting in hands-on a little bit culturally, Andrew always had kind of, when you get the email from Andrew, you're like, what's he up to? Like, we're doing what?
6 a.m. yoga class.
Yeah, and you go, and so you're sitting
yoga
there
in, New Orleans.
And he's the boss. You're going, I guess we're doing hot yoga in the morning. And then you're going, this was awesome, right? So a lot of the times as a recipient of his schemes, you're going, what the fuck is this guy digging, right?
Yeah.
And then you show up, you're like, that was great. I'm glad we did that. Let's do it again. Then it became like everywhere we went, we do yoga.
Yeah.
Or, the photo shoot was a one and done. But like
spin classes,
random spin classes. Well, then it became a whole Peloton challenge. Yeah. So he's got, there's a method to the madness, but a lot of times it's madness.
I think when you get people out of their comfort zone and you do something crazy together, you sort of bond. It's a bonding opportunity to do that. Yeah. And then it's a thing to look back on and laugh and
look at these guys.
It's like a
yoga pick or suits and ties.
Life's not that serious, We got to take ourselves.
We're in gaming. We're not saving lives. We're cutting people open, right? It's a whole different thing.
Who would you like to see next on the show? Who are you volunteering? Who are you volunteering?
Rolodex. Call them out.
See.
Call them out. Yeah.
Ooh. I would love to see Anna Sainsbury, the CEO, co-founder of GeoComply on. I think she's got a really cool story. She's in one of those businesses that is not directly down the middle, sort of slot machines, but is a really big business. She's been super successful. She's got a pretty cool story, and I think she'd be a great guest.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming by, man. This is fun.
Absolutely.
Always fun to catch up and have you on. And
anytime.
It's been awesome. I appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
And now, the segment where we make it up as we go.
No, we're good.
Oh, that's
I
good.
think we're
We haven't done that in a while.
Lived up to the hype for me.
so good.
Oh, man. What is your big takeaway? You always ask me, I'll ask you.
My biggest takeaway was we need to order some robes.
Yes.
I liked all of the core principles that they have,
Yeah.
similar to no talented assholes. That does need to make it on the list.
Yeah, they could formalize that. There's probably some rule that says you shouldn't write. Maybe they have to put instead of the word assholes, you'd put like the profanity emoji.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
No, I think you leave it in there, full body. I would like you to translate some gaming industry buzzwords.
Oh, the old
Okay.
buzzword translation. All right, let's
Yep.
hit me with your best shot.
So tell me what this means from like a regular person standpoint. We'll go through these together. Real-time data optimization. The page refreshes faster now.
It refreshes. Yes, exactly.
Next gen innovation.
Next gen innovation is just trying to sell more tickets to the same old baseball game.
Same game, better touchscreen. Player journey.
I just think of this as like some wandering player with like a Tito just walking. Where do I go? What do I happen to do?
It's giving like Lord of the Rings. Cloud native infrastructure.
Sounds made up. I have no idea what that means.
It's in the sky somewhere.
I feel like that feels like the kind of thing a sales guy would write on a slide deck, hoping no one knows what the hell that is. We're just like, don't worry guys, it's cloud native infrastructure. We're totally scared. It's cloud native.
Seamless integration.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that because I've never seen anything seamlessly integrate.
We hope it won't break this time.
We don't.
Fingers crossed. What do they mean when they say revolutionizing the industry? Like we're doing what everybody else is doing, but louder.
Louder, prouder, and at a slightly higher price.
From a B2B standpoint, synergistic partnerships. We networked over drinks, and now we are in this
A lot
together.
of synergies. Yeah, we shared a bottle of Dom, and now it's synergies.
Many synergies were had.
Synergistic part.
Tailored offerings.
Tailored means you can turn features off if you don't pay for them.
Cookie cutter offerings, but with a different logo on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, different logo.
End-to-end solutions. We're still going to need a tech team to figure this out.
We'll be charging you for every step in this process. You're going to pay us to do this, and then you're going to pay us to install it at the end. And if you want me to remove it, you got to pay me for that too. That's what it sounds like. Everything costs money.
Scalable solutions. We made it big enough for your company to use too. Agile framework.
What do you hear when you see our agile framework?
We're figuring it out as we go.
We're building the plane in the air. That's right.
Yes.
Fair enough. And we are incredibly agile to not crash this thing.
A customer-centric focus.
We care.
We remembered the customers exist.
Somebody said, who's going to buy this? And we said, oh, these guys. And we should probably include their opinion.
Future-proof technology. Future-proof is a big buzzword right now.
Is it a big buzzword?
This
Future-proof?
is yes. We're hoping it works in the future.
We're hoping this is still relevant 12 months from now.
What about the metaverse? Like, we don't know what it is, but investors love it.
You're at the ICE cocktail function and you're going, look, we're really doing a lot of work with the metaverse. This is future-proofing in the metaverse. People go, that guy sounds like he really knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Throw in ever-evolving landscape. You've got all the money you need.
Don't worry, it's an end-to-end solution. We're going to host it in the cloud native.
They should hire us to do this.
We're bringing the
They should pay
revolution
us.
to the metaverse.
Yeah.
And that's how you write a press release. This has been fun.
Yeah. Anytime.
All right, if you're still with us, kudos to you. Thanks for listening. Love to Andrew. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, guys.